Okay. Let's pull up the chats over here for we get started. Okay. That's up. Ooh. Turn that down. Okay. So we are live. Let's see. Let's move my phone. Yeah, happy Monday, everybody. There's not a lot going on today, so I figured, I don't know. I don't even know. Just is what it is. I thought about not even doing a show today, but I decided I might as well, so we're here. It's been an interesting time around here recently. So I wonder if I can fix this camera real quick. Okay. Can we get the lighting levels to reasonable? Alright, I think that looks fine. There's been lots of talk about GTA 6 over the last, I don't even know how many years at this point. You know, instead of buying the game, I'd recommend you just save up a little bit more money and experience GTA 6. Just come to Florida for a couple of days. We've got high-speed pursuits, all the homicides you can imagine. I mean, professional golfers getting DUIs. People driving their sports cars like they stole them. I mean, just come see it all. Come to South Florida for a few days and experience GTA 6. Clubs. You can go do that if you want. I mean, from what I see, it probably puts the ones from GTA 5 to shame. I mean, absolutely crazy around here recently. Yachts, high-speed death train. Just come experience it. Just come experience it. It is... See, it's... let's see if I can make this. Is that any better? It's picking up everything behind me. What if I did this button? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just be glowing today. Or at least what's behind me. I mean, the stuff that goes around here on a day-to-day basis just puts the idea of playing the game to shame. Just experience it. I mean, all the hazards from GTA just in your everyday life. So much fun. I mean, you even have, military jets flying overhead at all hours of the day, it seems. It's like last night, I was getting ready for bed, and I hear this sound that I haven't heard in like 15 years. And I go, that sounds like a Globemaster. I looked up flight radar. That's exactly what it is, just flying right over my apartment. Took off from Palm Beach International. I was like, okay, so that, it was like a deja vu moment. I was like, that sounds like a Globemaster. And then all of a sudden I look it up. It's exactly what it is. Of course it was. Then we have, F-16s scrambling over the weekend. I believe that was Sunday. What a time to be alive around here. What a time. But let's jump into it. Today is Monday, March 30th, 2026. This is episode number 77 of Addressing the Issues. So, as many of you know, yesterday was Palm Sunday. Likely most of you got to, I guess, worship how you seem fit for Palm Sunday. Go to church. However, for the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa, he was unable to hold his regular service. The head of the Catholic Church in the Holy Land was prohibited from entering the Holy Sepulchre to celebrate Palm Sunday Mass. This is the first time in centuries that the heads of the Catholic Church weren't allowed to celebrate Palm Sunday Mass at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is, I would argue, an impediment, if not disrespectful action being taken towards Christians. They were stopped en route by police, Israeli police, and were prevented at the time from going to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre to worship Palm Sunday on the grounds, the same grounds that Jesus walked over 2,000 years ago. Like I said, this is the first time in centuries that this has occurred. I don't know the last occurrence. But it just shows you how rare this is. This is also in the same country that earlier this month, their legislative proposed the idea of banning evangelicalism from the country entirely. So it does seem like there is a war on Christianity in the Middle East, and it's not who you would suspect it would be, at least listening to mainstream media. But this story's publicity forced a response from Prime Minister Netanyahu. It says, "I've instructed the relevant authorities that Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa, the Latin Patriarch, be granted full and immediate access to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. Over the past several days, Iran has repeatedly targeted the holy sites of all three monotheistic religions in Jerusalem with ballistic missiles." I doubt that occurred, but we'll continue. "In one strike, missile fragments crushed meters from the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. To protect worshippers, Israel asked members of all faiths that temporarily abstain from worshiping at the Christian, Muslim, and Jewish holy sites in Jerusalem's Old City. Today, out of special concern for his safety, Cardinal Pizzaballa was asked to refrain from holding Mass at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Even though I understand this concern, as soon as I learned about the incident with Cardinal Pizzaballa, I instructed the authorities to enable the Patriarch to hold services as he wishes." This never should have been an incident, at least in a free country, a respectful country to Christians. I highly doubt that the cardinals were asking for Israel to protect them. I think it's much more likely they were asking for protection from God. But, of course, this is a government impeding on religion, as they often do, often threaten. Ask the people in the West Bank, ask the people in Gaza. But, I mean, I don't think the Cardinals were going to ask or look to a prime minister, an earthly prime minister, for protection from these missiles. I believe they more likely said it's in God's hands, and expected him, or asked him, rather, to protect them. They weren't praying to Benjamin Netanyahu to protect them from Iranian missiles. I mean, that's just how Christians work. We don't look for earthly protectors, earthly people to manage our religion. We look to God himself. And if it is God's will that something bad is to happen, that's just the way it is. But I don't understand. Well, I guess I do understand in a way, but truly I don't understand why you would prevent people from worshiping holy holidays for their religion at such a religiously significant site. But that's exactly what happened over the weekend. We'll see, I guess, this weekend if it goes into Easter. I believe, well, they were allowed to hold some services. Whether attendants were allowed to be there or not is an entirely different question. They weren't. But I guess the big reveal of how this all goes comes this Sunday, the end of Holy Week, and we will see how the Israel government reacts to Christianity, whether they respect it or not. But yeah, I guess we'll see how this goes into the future, but as of right now, not a good look for Israel, preventing Christians from celebrating Palm Sunday, threatening arrest of cardinals in the Catholic Church, one of if not the oldest churches in the world. But Christians don't need your protection, Mr. Netanyahu. We look to God for that. That's just the way it's going to be forever. I don't need an earthly protector of a prime minister that just respects my religion. But we'll move on. We'll move on to the Iran war, which I guess is the reason that this church was shut down, or this service was prevented from happening originally. Marco Rubio has now a clear list of objectives. This is because previously, although he thinks he was clear, it was definitely not clear enough. He says, number one, these are the clear objectives: the destruction of their air force, referring to Iran. Number two, the destruction of their navy. Number three, the severe diminishing of their missile launching capability. And number four, the destruction of their factories so they can't make any more missiles and drones to threaten us in the future. All of this so they can never hide behind it to acquire a nuclear weapon. That was our objective from the beginning. That remains our objective now. We are on pace and in fact ahead of schedule on some of these things, and we are going to achieve those things in a number of weeks, not in a number of months. Well, I'm glad he made it clear. I thought the number one priority was that they never had a nuclear weapon, and number two was to ensure that they never had ballistic missiles or neuter them, but that one is number four, I guess. He's also failed to mention the oil, which has been previously mentioned as one of the objectives of this war. So obviously these weren't clear to anybody. He is really confused if he thinks he's made it clear. We've heard things from oil to nuclear weapons to women's rights even. I guess that was one of the clear objectives previously, or maybe it wasn't so clear and that's why he didn't include it. We're being gaslit to believe that all this is clear, everybody knows what's going on, when the messaging itself reflects the fact that nobody knows what their goals are. I hope they can figure them out before we lose any more American lives, because this is a mess. It's truly a mess. Typically if you go to a proactive war, you have clear objectives, yet these objectives that we have are, clear sometimes, muddy in others. It's an entire mess, and we're sending American lives over there to achieve these objectives, whether they know what the objectives are or not. I think, that would be step one, is knowing all your objectives before going in. We went in and decided we'll try and figure out these objectives on the fly. Kind of like the global war on terror, kind of like Iraq, kind of like Afghanistan, kind of like Vietnam. we'll figure out the objectives on the fly, and then hopefully, everything will fall into place and it'll all work out. I guess breaking news that's never worked before for the U.S. When we do have a clear objective, we're really, really good at doing war. When we don't have a clear objective, we get stuck in these quagmires for years and years, and everybody on the ground's confused, everybody running the military is confused because we don't know what we're doing. If you don't have clear objectives in anything, you can get sidetracked, you can completely lose your way, you can get lost, confused, whatever you want to call it. But I'm glad, we have now determined what the clear objectives are a month into this conflict. That only seems like a bad omen for the future, but hopefully it all works out. Hopefully we see nobody else come back in coffins over this war, but until we have an actual clear objective and an understanding of how to get there, it doesn't bode well. It doesn't bode well at all. Well, we'll continue to another story related to this war. I guess this goes on to the more of the public opinion side of things. It says Republicans are eyeing cuts to federal health programs like Affordable Care Act subsidies and fraud fixes will help to pay for a huge budget package for the U.S. military in this Iran war. The budget package would be up to $2 billion, alongside ramped up immigration enforcement. I think the ramped up immigration enforcement is a farce. We've seen that they're not willing to do that. We saw that in the withdrawal from Minneapolis, and where we let the socialists win on our own territory, our own country, in our own cities. We've already seen we're not willing to do this. But I'm sure Republicans would love to strip health care. I do not agree that the Affordable Care Act is good at all. However, I don't see how this bodes well going into the midterms, how this looks to public perception, because the way it will be portrayed is that they are taking away your money for health care and suspending it to fight a war across the world for oil. And going into the midterms, that is a disaster narrative. Even going into 2028, that narrative will still be pushed on whoever is the next Republican presidential candidate. And people will bite. They'll listen to it, because it seems truer than it seems like a lie. Especially once you start taking money from people's health care, whether that money is being effectively used or not, entirely different question. But the image that it puts in people's heads is that you care more about a foreign war than you do for your own citizens, and that's a losing proposition going into any election, believe it or not. But the average voter, the average person, not informed that the Affordable Care Act is a scam, not informed that Republicans have already withdrawn from major mass deportations. It can be used either way. Just pick. It's a you pick moment. And then they say, oh, well, that's going to a foreign war instead. It's a double-edged sword, and we're jumping on it. I don't know. I think we need to just focus money on the problems at home. We need to focus on these mass deportations, which we won't. Never will at this point. And then also getting rid of the Affordable Care Act and creating something that actually serves Americans would be a great start. But instead we started at Iran war. A disaster sequence going in the midterms. It's like a tragedy, like a tragic play playing out before our very own eyes. It's like, tragedy theater, and we're just watching it unfold. But we'll continue on. There has been a sighting of Senator Lindsey Graham at Disney World, while DHS remains unfunded, and the SAVE Act is collecting dust. I don't think Lindsey Graham drove to Disney World. If he did, and you have knowledge of this, prove me wrong, but I feel like he likely took a flight. It's kind of interesting. We'll get to that in a minute. Yes, he likely took a flight walking by the same TSA agents that are still not being paid. They held some pro forma session the day to make sure that Trump couldn't do recess appointments. This is the Senate. But Lindsey Graham is at Disney World. I was going to say the funny part about this is he is the one that has pushed, not the one, but one of those who has pushed this war the most, and he is currently enjoying his time at Disney World while there are 50,000 U.S. troops deployed into the Middle East currently. I don't see why he didn't just go over there and spend his vacation fighting. I think that would be a much more suitable use for his time, seeing that he wants this war so bad. But the question is, what's he doing at Disney World? He has no kids, no wife. The only reasonable explanation that I can see is that he's recruiting. What for? He's looking at the next round of soldiers he's going to send to a foreign war. Walking around looking at 10-year-olds going, "You'll be great on the front line." Is that what he's doing? I don't know. Can somebody explain to me why an old single man goes to Disney World? It's a little strange. It's got a little bit of how do I say this? It's got undertones of some strange activity for sure. Especially given the people that Disney World is made for are children. I don't know. Maybe he's recruiting for two different things at once. I'll let you decide what the other recruiting thing is other than the next soldiers of the United States of America. There's a file for that. But we'll move on from his strange vacation while he will not do his job to more Iran war news. It's been claimed that analysts found at least 4 of Iran's key missile production facilities and around 29 launch sites were damaged in the first month of U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran. So we are, making some headway in stopping counterattacks. I would like to know how much. Yes, 4 missile production facilities is great, unless they have hundreds. 29 launch sites is great, unless they have thousands. But I wonder what the percentage of these things are. I truly do. We've seen videos of missiles seemingly coming up out of the desert floor there. Have we found all of those locations? Are they building more of these? There's also many of these production sites are underground. Did we get the underground ones? Have we only got surface level factories, or have we reached the ones that are some 100 feet underground? That would be the main question, because the ones that are underground would be probably their most crucial, their most lethal weapons. If we got, 4, Hezbollah rocket style places, what about the ballistic missiles that they are allegedly producing that we are so worried about? Have we got those ones? Are we getting the main launch sites, the places that have the most stored ammunition, where we've got just the ones that we could find as of now and more open up in the coming days? That's what I'm concerned about. But hopefully these are the most strategically important. I just thought that was rather interesting. I mean, maybe we are making good headway. Maybe there's only 4 missile production facilities. I'd highly doubt that. And maybe there's only 29 launch sites. And that, if that's the case, it's going stellar. But I highly doubt that in a country as big as Iran, a country as focused on war as Iran. There's also a new report coming out. I believe it's Channel 12 in Israel. It reports that if the United States carries out a ground operation in Iran, it would have to go alone, with Israeli forces not participating on the ground. This report cites fatigue from the war with Gaza, the war with Hamas, as a contributing factor for this decision. I think it's really interesting that allegedly this war was started because Israel said, we're going to do it, and they're going to attack you back, and so you better join. To now, we get all these troops in the region to help them out, and they say, oh, you're all by yourself. We're not going in. We're tired. I think that's really interesting, really telling as to why we're there, how we got pulled into this, what the objectives are. The objectives aren't to benefit the U.S. The objectives are to fight a war for Israel, as many people, including the terrorism counterintelligence leader Joe Kent said. I mean, I don't think he's wrong, and this is proving it more and more every single day, that we are, in fact, doing this for a foreign country, which, if that is the case, whoever went along with it at the beginning should be held liable to face charges of treason. That's my opinion on that. But we'll move on from how we're going in alone now. And so we haven't ruled out using Israeli troops to... No, they're going to go... The U.S. is going to go in alone and fight our war. I don't know. It happens all the time. It happened in Syria. It happened in Iraq. And for some reason, we keep falling for it. We keep falling for it because we have this propaganda, as I would call it, that claims they're our greatest ally. No formal paperwork has been signed. We just give them money and fight wars for them. Disturbing relationship. It's a terrible relationship, but it's the relationship we've chosen through the people we elect to be in. Make sure you show up to the primaries. Just make sure you show up. But we'll move on to news of alleged negotiations between the U.S. and Iran. This morning, I believe, this morning, before the markets opened, of course, President Trump posted on Truth Social, the United States of America is in serious discussions with the new and more reasonable regime to end our military operations in Iran. Great progress has been made. If for any reason a deal is not shortly reached, which it probably will be, and if the Hormuz Strait is not immediately open for business, we will conclude our lovely stay in Iran by blowing up and completely obliterating all of their electric generating plants, oil wells in Karg Island, and possibly all desalination plants, which we have purposefully not yet touched. This will be in retribution for our many soldiers and others that Iran has butchered and killed over the old regime's 47-year reign of terror. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump. So now the threat is, if you don't just go along with it, we're going to create the largest, yes, the largest refugee crisis the world's ever seen, by destroying desalination plants, meaning they won't have water to drink, destroying the electricity infrastructure, both of which are war crimes. People will leave, they'll go into Europe. In 2 years, they'll be coming into the U.S. under a Democrat program. I'm almost sure the next president will be a Democrat. We'll probably have both the House and the Senate, and they'll be passing bills left and right, allowing refugees into America, probably giving them voting rights. So we will have a Iranian refugee voting bloc loyal to Democrats. I can't think of anything scarier than that. A whole bunch of ex-IRGC members voting in American elections. If you can name something scarier, put it in the chat. I truly believe what the sequence of events will unfold, because nobody's going to be enthusiastic to vote for the war crime president, the war crime party. I'll still go vote. Whether it's fruitful or not, I'll still be doing it. It feels like a lost cause every time I show up nowadays, because this is our policy right now, and the average moderate looks at this and goes, I would rather have transgender for everyone. And then it's like, I guess that's the lesser of the two evils to you. I don't see it that way, but this isn't a great plan to cause regional instability in a refugee crisis. I don't think, maybe this is like the sixth clear goal: create a refugee crisis and then take them all in 2 years. Iran has claimed the U.S. proposal currently as excessive and illogical, with the red lines of no ballistic missile production, stuff of the sort, that they can't put the toll on the Strait of Hormuz, pushing this ceasefire deal into the realm of unlikely in the near term. Some claim highly unlikely. I would agree. I think the two parties are way too far apart with what their goals are. Iran wants some stability. The U.S. wants to go in and make it a vassal state, it seems, currently. Something like what happened in Venezuela, except for this is entirely different in the fact of populations, not only populations, but resentment towards America, proximity to America. But, I don't know. I think they had smoke blown up their ass after how well Venezuela went, and they thought, we can just do it again if we take out the Ayatollah. We'll have some puppet come in and they'll walk their Nobel Peace Prize over and gift it to the president. Well, this didn't happen. And now we're a month into this war, it's not showing really any signs of slowing down. In fact, every piece of rhetoric is that it's going to ramp up, from strikes on missile production to strikes on energy infrastructure and possibly desalination plants. Something interesting I found, just, scrolling around on Google Maps. Google has claimed that the road in front of Mar-a-Lago is closed until early May. They have closed this road until the end of the war. I may be looking too far into this, but it seems like, hopefully this is all done before early May. They said that they would have this road closed for the duration of the war. If it opens back up in early May, that would mean maybe the war is a little over a month away from ending. But this is roughly aligned with the time that President Trump is expected to meet Xi Jinping in a meeting in China. It's already been claimed that President Trump wants the war over in time for this meeting, this summit in China with Xi Jinping. So all these dates actually are aligning to early May. We can hope it's over in early May. I believe that also aligns roughly with the 60-day period under the War Powers Act where President Trump can do war actions without congressional approval. So, maybe, hopefully, this is all over in early May. One can hope, right? One can hope. Speaking of Mar-a-Lago, there were two F-16 fighter jets scrambled over Mar-a-Lago this weekend to intercept an unresponsive civilian plane over the restricted airspace. The airspace has also been restricted for the entirety of the war. I believe it's for this entire presidency, they've rerouted plane takeoffs and landings away from over Mar-a-Lago. Pissed a lot of the residents around here off, but you probably just don't want random planes flying over where the president is. I found this reasonable. Shutting down the road I thought was, a little excessive, but, maybe that gives us a good idea of when this will all be over. Maybe they're planning early May. I think that seems to be the most logical explanation, assuming that they reach some kind of U.S. or some kind of deal beneficial to the U.S. I guess that's your Mar-a-Lago news for for the day. There's also a new poll relating to this war. It's a Mellman Group poll that claims most American Jews oppose the war on Iran. It is claimed that they are concerned that the U.S. going to war for Israel creates a long-term problem, prompting concerns about the role of Israel and American Jews in U.S. foreign policy. I think it was very interesting that this has come out right now, and I believe it is probably true. This is creating a lot of anger and resentment towards a religious group that lives out of Israel for truly no good reason. I don't believe that all Jews want this war. I believe that Israel does, but that shouldn't reflect on pure-blooded Americans living here in America that want the best for the U.S. It shouldn't reflect upon them. It should reflect upon the state of Israel that does want this war of expansion, because that's what this is. They want to expand their power into the whole of the Middle East. And I think there's a bunch of clear-thinking people that realize that that may not be the best idea, and that, maybe this whole thing going to war for another country is a bad look, not just for Israel itself, but to other countries associated with the U.S. I just thought that was an interesting poll. There's also news of President Trump confirming that a military complex is being built under the new White House ballroom. This comes alongside lots of countries around the world building nuclear shelters, nuclear bunkers. The likelihood of this being one is, I believe, non-zero. I'd say it's much more in the realm of highly likely that this is a nuclear bunker at the White House, which is kind of alarming, seeing that we're planning for something like that. Is it going to happen? I hope not. Nuclear war is probably the worst thing anyone could imagine currently. But it's also been claimed that the White House ballroom is also under budget and ahead of schedule. I thought this was a miracle for a government contract. It must be because people are paying out of pocket for it, as opposed to taxpayers. Anytime a taxpayer pays for something, it is over budget and behind schedule, but they have somehow allegedly created a miracle situation in which private investment through the government is under budget and ahead of schedule. Baffling to me. Just baffling to me. This could be the first time in U.S. history in which a government project is under budget and ahead of schedule. It's just some coincidence that the people funding it is private wealth, allegedly. It's allegedly not the taxpayer. I guess when all that money dries out from private investment, it surely will be the taxpayer that gets to finish it, unless, there's no way that they'd have a half-built ballroom on White House grounds and not have the taxpayer foot the rest of the bill. But yeah. And then I have a little story from this weekend. I was talking to some people around South Florida. And they had, or I guess overheard is a better way to say it, because I wasn't even in this conversation, but I overhear that there is a backlog of years in procurement for government contracts to the defense industry. A backlog of years, if you're not familiar, there's lots of defense contractors in South Florida. To hear that there's a backlog of years to this, I'll just let you guys do with that information as you will. But it means to me that once this war ends, they're still going to be producing more and more and more weapons. I guess the winners of every war is the military-industrial complex. So I guess do with that information as you will, but it doesn't seem like the money going to defense from the government is slowing down anytime soon, even after this war wraps up, and hopefully early May. Just do with that information as you will. But it proves the tale as long as time, or old as time, that every time you go to the war, the benefactors are the military-industrial complex. And once again, they will be into the near future. So, I don't know, it seems like they're going to be making a lot of money on the war in Iran. So, if you can make that beneficial to you, go ahead and do it. I can't stop you. There's also news coming out from over the weekend that North Korea just tested a 250-ton rocket motor in connection to their nuclear program, the one that the U.S. did not stop before it procured the nuclear weapon, and now there's nothing the U.S. can really do in a way because they will be retaliated against in an equal fashion. If, I guess not equal, but comparative fashion with nuclear weapons from North Korea. I guess now you see why it is so imperative to stop this nuclear program, whether it really exists or not in Iran, because if you don't, they become a near enough adversary that it is impossible to overthrow their government without risking nuclear conflict. I guess this is why we were so willing to walk into this. It's because once the threshold is crossed and somebody has a nuclear weapon, you can't just walk into their country and take it over. They have defense for that. I don't know, I just think it's interesting that the actual nuclear armed country is apparently no worry right now, although they're testing rocket motors that could fly nuclear weapons well into U.S. borders. And there's, no comment on that. Nobody seems to care. But it should be alarming, especially when it's a deranged state like North Korea. I think we should be a little more worried about that than non-nuclear Iran. Really anybody else for that matter, except for maybe China and Russia. But yeah, rogue North Korea, tiny man, big belly Kim Jong-un is launching nuclear rockets, testing them at least, and you haven't heard a peep from the U.S. It shows where our concerns actually are, and it seems to be oil. I wanted to congratulate, in another story, everybody that went out this weekend for the No Kings protest. It was once again very successful. We still do not have a king, so I thank you guys for that. Whether you're funded by the Chinese Communist Party or not is a completely separate question, but congratulations to the communists for successfully holding a king out of government for another year. We're now on almost 250 years of no kings. So everybody go out and thank a communist and say, it's awesome that you guys have prevented kings in America for 250 years. It's quite a feat that they achieve a couple of weekends a year. There was some interesting stuff coming out of these people vandalizing property, writing that people should kill ICE agents. Here at my local No Kings protest, I thought about going until I hear that the Proud Boys are there. Whether or not they actually exist in a real sense or that it is a psyop is a whole nother question. Whether they are an organic organization or a FBI, CIA style operation to get people to do things that they normally wouldn't under the guise of an organization is a completely different question. Once I saw that, I was intrigued to see what they were like, but I was also like, if something goes crazy here, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be involved. But I did want to go, see how they acted in the midst of all these communists, anti-fascists meet Proud Boys. I mean, it sounds very intriguing, does it not? It also sounds very unsafe, so I decided I would rather be at the pool, which I did. It was a lot better of an experience probably than hanging out with a whole bunch of radical people. Just hang out at the pool, hang out with deranged people. You pick the pool like 99 times out of 100, probably, right? But, there is the one time that you got to go see it. So, I don't know. Maybe I missed the opportunity to see how the anti-fascists and the Proud Boys, commingle, but I think that was an opportunity worth missing, especially given how much better my time was than hanging out with a whole bunch of angry people. They probably aren't very fun people, none of them. I mean, at least from my experience going the one before, nobody there was fun. Nobody there was somebody who you would want to hang out with. So, I guess I'm glad I didn't go. I actually enjoyed my weekend and didn't put myself at risk. There's another story coming out about the special election here in Florida, District 87. I actually voted in this election. It's also the district which contains Mar-a-Lago, President Trump's residence. But a Palm Beach County Elections Office volunteer was arrested for stealing an encrypted access key and computer equipment in the March 24th special election, where the Democrat won by 800 votes. The theft was reported on March 27th, which I believe would have been Friday, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Friday. A few days after the special election, which was, if I'm not mistaken, last Tuesday. The theft occurred on March 19th, days before Election Day. It's been claimed that during the search of John Panicci's home, detectives recovered the stolen items, a stolen encrypted access key and computer equipment, along with a substantial amount of electronic and digital storage devices. Panicci was transported to the Palm Beach County Jail and booked on charges. So, was the election stolen? I'm not going to make a call on that. It needs to be investigated for sure. But apparently the access key was stolen, meaning where did he send this, especially with all these storage devices, electronic storage devices, where else has this now been sent to? The stolen election, the thing that never happens, seems to be on the verge of happening again. Another argument for paper ballots. I guess it's also notable. A notable part of this is that John Panicci is a registered Democrat, at least according to his Florida voter registration. So, the thing that Democrats say never happens, they're probably doing themselves. So we need to get to the bottom of this quick, especially before the upcoming midterms, for election integrity, election honesty. Because where else did he send this? Who else now has access to this encrypted access key? How else can this be used around the country to rig races, change results? I'm sure it can be used, and I'm sure there's a reason why he did it, is so that other people could use this to rig elections. I don't know that the Florida District 87 special election was rigged, but we do know that he has stolen this equipment, possibly, or I guess we know that it's happened. Could it be used to do it into the future is the new question needs to be answered. Who else now has access to this? Where did he send it? Because it can be used to rig an election. I don't know that this one was, but it could have been. It also can be used into the future to do the thing that, is claimed never happens. But it's also important to note that he is a Democrat, and the Democrat won in a district that voted plus 19 Republican in the prior state election. So it should be noted. That should be noted. So I don't know. Really interesting stuff going on here. I mean, everybody knows that the voting machines aren't foolproof, that you can rig elections with them. That's been testified since 2020 and before, I do believe. I mean, the technology comes from, Smartmatic in Venezuela, and we use it here. I don't know. That should be red flag number one, is when you're using a place that has provenly dishonest election software. That's red flag number one. And then importing it into your country is probably red flag number two. I mean, we need paper ballots. We can count pieces of paper with marking on them. As difficult as it may be for these election workers, it's just what needs to happen. These machines are a joke, making our elections, as a result, a joke. But we'll move on. This obviously is a developing story, because we don't know where this technology, these access keys, have been sent. We need to know. We need to know quickly, especially coming up on the midterms. How can we ever trust election results again? If you do get paper ballots, if you do have same-day counting, that they aren't taking breaks and blocking election supervisors from witnessing the counting. I believe that's the only way we can ever fix this, but the laziness of people makes it a fever dream that it would ever be done. I don't think that our lazy selves are ever going to be willing to count paper ballots and say, oh, why don't you just let a computer do it? And this is what we get when you let a computer do it, is back-end access and people stealing computer access keys and other equipment from the election. We need to know where else this has gone, because I don't know. I don't see a regular person steals this and just has it at home as a souvenir, unless they're a deranged kleptomaniac. That has less fear than somebody doing credit card fraud. This is it should worry everybody. It truly should. This isn't a normal stealing. Maybe you steal a computer, but you don't steal the computer that is meant to run elections if you want to play video games on it. Because these are especially made for elections. If he did this just to get his rocks off, he should just be in jail forever. You have no idea what else he would do. But we'll move on. There's going to be more stuff on this in the coming days, hopefully. If not, the coming months. It needs to be fixed before probably the primaries, definitely before Election Day in November. There's also this interesting news coming out about the string of deaths related to the science community and missing persons, coinciding with the UFO files, which apparently everybody asked for. That was announced, I believe, in February, that there's been a string of deaths. The Caltech scientist involved in understanding when stuff would be hitting Earth died on his front porch by somebody claiming he was walking to a post office a week before this occurred with a rifle, I believe in the dead of night, but he was walking the opposite direction. He ends up murdering, I believe it was a Caltech scientist focused on space stuff. Then you have Nuno, I forget his name. He was the one that worked at, oh, now I'm blanking. I want to say MIT. He was the one that was killed by the same dude that did the Brown shooting. He was working on, I said it in the previous episode. I'm blanking on all this right now. It's above my pay grade, guys. Truly is. I can't remember. It was like, oh, I'm blanking. But the supercomputer-like technology, the Schrodinger's box type stuff, astrophysics, stuff, I mean, very important things. He dies. Strange. That whole situation got swept under the rug very fast with the Brown University shooting, and then another professor being shot in the days after by the same person. And then recently there's also been 2 nuclear scientists that have like left their phone at home, completely cleared the memory of the phone, and then just like walk out into the woods and never return. Very strange stuff going on there. And now we're seeing apparently all over the nation lights in the sky at night. Strange phenomenon alongside this planned release of the UFO files. It seems too crazy to just be labeled a coincidence. It really does. Especially when you have people walking into the woods, like highly accredited scientists walking into the woods that never return, leaving their memory cleared phone as the only thing, leaving their IDs behind. I mean, I don't know, maybe they're going in the witness protection or something, and this is just how it's done in the modern era. It's just very strange, especially given all the lights we've seen in the sky, the apparently upcoming release of the UFO files, or whatever you want to call those. Really weird stuff. But yeah, 4 scientists in total so far that the public is familiar with. 2 dead, 2 missing, all in basically the last 3 months. I think it dates back into late December. Just strange stuff going on with that, especially with the UFO hearings in Congress. But yeah, I figured I'd throw that information out there for you guys to do with whatever you want with it. Yeah, I'm trying to think, do I want to even do this? Because this could be done any day. We're already an hour in, and we haven't even gotten to the good news, my new favorite segment. Maybe this would be something better for like a short video on a Saturday. I do want to do it soon. I think we'll have this be done on a Saturday. Maybe this Saturday I'll make a short video or a short stream on this. But it's essentially why, or not why, but what's going on right now with media and the psyops that, I mean, I see right through because I have gone to school to push these things. Way too much school, honestly. But like how I am able to see through these things, and I guess why I feel rather qualified to comment on them, because it's what I went to school for. I mean, propaganda, censorship, manipulating societies through information. But we'll push that to, I think, probably Saturday, or if we have another slow news day. I thought today was a slow news day, and I'm now an hour and 5 minutes in. So we'll do this on a different day, because this show's gone on way longer than I expected. I thought we'd get through this in like 30 minutes. I guess there was really big news regarding the prevention of religion in Israel on Palm Sunday. Apparently, freedom of religion is not a thing there. Kind of disturbing from a first world country point of view that you can't practice your religion freely, but I guess that's just one of those great things about the US is that we allow people to do so. But we'll get into the good news. Make sure you guys are dropping a like, sharing this episode, sharing the channel, subscribing on YouTube, following on Kick, following on Rumble. Thanks for sticking around. Quite a few of you guys have stuck around all day today, so I appreciate that. But we'll go to Matthew chapter 21, verse 12 through 17. This is the second half of the Palm Sunday story that I had promised. I guess the second part of it. This is Jesus at the temple. If you don't recall, Friday we talked about his triumphal entry back into Jerusalem. But Matthew chapter 21:12 reads, Jesus entered the temple area and drove out all who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves. It is written, he said to them, my house will be called a house of prayer. You are making it a den of robbers. The blind and the lame came to him at the temple, and he healed them. But when the chief priests and teachers of the law saw the wonderful things he did and how the children shouting in the temple area, and he healed them. But when the chief priests and the teachers of the law saw the wonderful things he did and the children shouting in the temple area, Hosanna to the Son of David, they were indignant. Do you hear what these children are saying? They asked them. Yes, replied Jesus. Have you never read? From the lips of the children and infants you have ordained praise. And he left them and went out of the city to Bethany, where he spent the night. I think of this and I think of a lot of modern misinterpretations of religion, churches that are about money. It's kind of incredible that Jesus would do these things, not in the, yes, that he would, I don't know what the proper term would be, call out, I guess, the people at the temple for making money, that it is unholy, the money changers, stuff like this, taking fees from people. Yet we have modern churches, I'm not going to call any out, but they're based entirely on money, making pastors rich. Even other churches focused on having their own banks. Kind of interesting, kind of against what Jesus stood for. We're not here to be rich. We're rich in spirit through Christ. I don't know. I think it's kind of a crazy situation where Jesus was calling these things out, and then in the name of him, you're doing the same thing he called out 2,000 years later. I don't know. The story of Palm Sunday, we're going into Holy Week, Easter this Sunday, Good Friday on this Friday. Pretty self-explanatory. Good Friday. It's on Friday, guys. We'll have a story from that, the Last Supper this week. But yeah, I think that's what we're going to focus on. Story of Easter this week, at the end, the good news. Because, I don't know, there's plenty of bad news. There's only one thing that's going to save you from this world, and that is Jesus Christ. So I hope to at least attempt to change at least one person's life. Hopefully everybody's. Hopefully we'll all turn to Christianity, turn to Christ to solve our problems, because we're not going to solve them ourselves. We can't. We don't have the power. Only God does, and a lot of us aren't willing to accept that. We think we can change the world on our own. You know, you're only going to be able to if God gives you the power to do so. Let's see. Is there anything else I missed today? I don't think so. I think we're just going to call it there. If I missed it, we'll have to rectify that tomorrow. But yeah, make sure you guys are dropping likes, like on Rumble, like on YouTube, subscribing, following, share the channel. The more the merrier. I like talking with you guys in the chat. I guess mostly I enjoy just having y'all around, trying to disseminate some of this world of lies we're living in right now, this world of cognitive warfare that is way too abundant, way more evil than we can even fathom. But yeah, that's all I have for today. We should be live tomorrow, 4:45. I was a little late today, I'll admit. But we'll have more news, seemingly probably of the Iran war. It doesn't seem like that's going to wrap up anytime soon. I guess if you consider early May soon, that's my best guess for right now, and that could easily be prolonged. But yeah, oil's up 5% today. Not good. 46% in the last month. Incredible stuff. That's all we've got. To all my people on the East Coast, I hope you get home safe. To my people further west, I hope you finish up your workday strong and get home safe as well. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow at 4:45. Hopefully it'll be a faster episode, but these things just keep getting longer and longer. So I'm sorry about that, but not really much I can do if I want to inform everybody about everything that's going on. So I don't know. That's all I've got. I'll talk to you guys very, very soon.